Hello, everyone. When he made a promise to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours, possibly even before taking office, Trump had completely forgotten that negotiating an agreement of any kind, including a peace agreement between two countries that have been at war, depending on how you count it, either since 2014 or since 2022, involves other people. And he is now dealing with the consequences of forgetting that particular aspect of negotiations. Trump seems to be amazed by the level of hatred that exists between Putin and Zelensky. Why are you surprised? Putin invaded Ukraine. Putin's armies committed hideous atrocities there. Why should any Ukrainian, including Ukrainian president, feel anything but hatred toward Putin? Explain it to me. Why? Dude, you whine if somebody gets into Mar-a-Lago uninvited. This is a fucking country. This is a fucking invasion. Get it through your idiot head. So now, after weeks upon weeks upon weeks of sucking up to Putin and criticizing Zelensky for being inflexible, for not wanting to surrender a portion of his country to an invading army, Trump is starting to criticize Russia instead. I don't know why it upset him so that Putin had attacked Zelensky's credibility, whatever. Folks around the world, we don't know what goes on in this man's head. I don't know if he knows what goes on in his head. All we know is that he opens his mouth and stuff comes out, and we're not even amazed anymore. We're like, yep, another day, another party. So we don't know what had caused this particular twist in this particular story. But when asked, Trump said that he was very angry, that he was pissed off, his words, at Putin. And I don't know what that means at this point. Again, I'm just hoping that Ukraine continues moving along with its plans with the European allies, because this is a madhouse. I mean, who would want to participate in this? At this point, Trump had criticized both Zelensky and Putin, and to the European leaders who were worried that Trump seemed to be cozying up to Putin, don't celebrate just yet, because he can change his mind in about 5 minutes. So today he says he's pissed off at Putin. Tomorrow he's going to be pissed off at someone else. Just continue on with whatever plans you have. Just ditch the US. US is no longer a reliable ally. Canada has it right. As part of his falling out with Putin, Trump is threatening oil buyer sanctions. So what is that? And why this is important outside of the US-Russia relationship? This is sanctions not just against Russia, but against countries that buy oil from Russia. So all of the countries that supported Russia through the course of the war in Ukraine, like China, like North Korea, like Iran, and anyone else buying oil from Russia will be facing high tariffs. So this is what it means. So this is going to impact the global oil markets significantly. And we don't know in what way this might go. Because on one hand, this is where this gets complicated, and nobody should be making rash promises. So on one hand, we have an issue with China and we have an issue with India, both of whom have been purchasing Russia's oil and have been conducting trade otherwise with Russia, refusing to join any motions against Russia despite the invasion of Ukraine. On the other hand, the US continues doing extensive amounts of business with both of them, particularly China. Remember, we talked months ago that China has a complicated position in all of this because it has its hand in so many pies all around the world. It is involved with Russia. It is involved with the US. It is involved with EU. And China has some territorial aspirations of its own. So this is complicated. I will leave it to leading world economists and political scientists to sort this one out, because this could be a real mess. And between China and India, who had surpassed China in buying Russia's crude oil, I agree with William Reinsch, a former senior U.S. Commerce Department official, that haphazard way of throwing threats this way and that way and changing your mind every day is not a great move when you want to keep the world economy stable. So we'll see what happens. And also, let's not forget, in order to determine whom to sanction, U.S. officials will have to trace and provide substantial proof that, yes, indeed, these governments, these countries are buying crude oil from Russia. And at this particular moment, that's going to be a problematic, because both our economic, international, and intelligence agencies are being dismantled, with people being fired by the thousand, which means we have fewer resources on the US side to do that kind of tracking. And this is something I can relate to as a data analyst. This requires work, this requires focus, this requires a lot of people doing a lot of very intelligent things. And right now, in the state that US government is in, I don't see that happening. Russia is trying to conduct its own rare minerals talk with the US. Something to consider there, US, look at the map for once. A lot of Russia's rare minerals are in the Ural Mountains and in Siberia. If you're going to do that, if you're going to participate in that particular mining operation, consider how you're going to get there. And then there's this. Remember, while all of this shit is happening, people are still getting murdered by Russia in Ukraine. So we talked about over the weekend the attacks that took place specifically against Kharkiv, with people killed and injured. There's been more airstrikes across the country, including Zaporizhia, including Kharkiv, including Sumy, including Kherson. I mean, it just doesn't stop. And then there is this. So what is going on in Belgorod? The foray of Ukrainian troops in Belgorod region is brand new. So let's all sit down and be patient and treat it as a developing story. What we know is that even as Ukrainian troops worked on withdrawing from the Kursk region, Ukrainian troops made a breakthrough in the Belgorod region, which is another border region with Russia, and penetrated Russian territory by 3 or 4 kilometers. That's basically a couple of miles, 2.5 miles. Why this is important is because now for 3 years, Belgorod region has been used like a gigantic military base by Russia. I still don't understand why they didn't evacuate civilians from there. So it's a huge, basically, staging and storage facility and a launch pad for Russian rockets and Russian troops. More to come.